afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 32nd Annual Conference and Legislative Convention down here in Columbus, and we're having a great time. It's a little chilly, so I hope you have your coats on. Anyways, thanks so much, and we'll see you all at lunch.
And I'm a firm believer that there needs to be something for the secondary market in place so we can still have home loans given to qualified buyers. That is a debate that continues this week in the Financial Services Committee, as there's a hearing, I believe, on Thursday regarding the future of GSEs and GSE reform and
other things. But I've been mostly working on election reform, as I call it, getting ready for 2012 and beyond, which is the presidential election, which when you're Ohio's Secretary of State, that's the big deal. We are projected to be one of two states that you have to win the presidency in 2012. You can count on the fact that people from all around the country will be focused on Ohio and doing all the things that you would expect them to do to try to win that presidential race, win Ohio and win the presidential race.
But for those of you in attendance that are commercial realtors, we have a whole tsunami of commercial mortgages that are about to change in rates. Once that happens, you're going to have a whole host of commercial properties that are also going to be upside down. You're going to present a great opportunity for all you commercial realtors out there, basically to help those sellers with their short sale issues.
I'll tell you some scary stories that go along with what I see at the title company. What I see at the title company that's very upsetting. The first one is that arm's length transaction. I had a situation just last week where the listing agent really kind of hid the ball from my title company until the day of the closing. He had the seller on a short sale, but the buyer was an LLC. And I will tell you right now that most of the lenders that are handling short sales are not even agreeing to accept a contract if it includes an LLC as the buyer. And this is exactly why. This lender did not have that requirement. However, we continue to ask, who are the people that are signing for the LLC? Who are these buyers? Sure enough, the day of the closing, he shows up with an operating agreement and his clients, and guess what? Everyone had the same last name. Yes, they're all related. So the seller had his brothers open an LLC so that they could do the right thing for their family. I see where they're coming from, which is, hey, we'll buy the house on a short sale, and then we'll just let you stay there, and you can just pay us rent, right? I know you guys are facing this often. This is what's going on. I told my client, I'm sorry, we are not closing that transaction in my office. This is mortgage fraud. This is why the lenders, except for the one that just happened to be in this one, are now not allowing LLCs to be buyers on your short sales. Here's number two that happened Friday. Brokers in the office, do you know what your agents are doing with short sales? There's two issues here, and I'll just get them real quickly for you. One is the commission amount. We put it up on the MLS that, yeah, 3% to the buyer's agent, right? 3%. Well, then the real estate agent that's listing the property realizes that they had to put hours and months of time into this file. We are getting to the closing table. I've had this happen 3 times last year, and we're fighting about commissions in front of our clients. Because now all of a sudden, I'll tell you what, they beat me down on the price here so we can get this closed. I'll tell you what, we're going to split the commission. Now it's 2 for you and 2 for me. Folks, do you know what your agents are doing?
Some of the policies that NAR is battling on your behalf on Capitol Hill, and just to give you a real quick synopsis of how we come up with these, there's a survey that's sent out randomly to the members of the National Association of Realtors. They take those survey questions and answers, and they compile a list of things that are concerning people all over the country, because different markets have different concerns. And then a large number of leaders in the pack of government affairs meet at a policy conference in Washington, D.C. early in the year, and we literally battle it out at the microphones on what issues are going to be ranked in the top 5, top 10, and so on, so that NAR knows where our passions are, what we need to fight. And it's quite interesting. They put up a big screen and they literally move the issues as they get voted higher or lower, and you just watch this whole thing progress, and you have something in your hand to vote with. because it's several hundred people in a room, and we all vote, and then it shows up on the screen, and all the bar graphs go up or down, and then they switch it on the TV screen as to what order it then ranked based on votes that came in. So, you know, there are a lot of people looking out for you. NAR is definitely looking out for our best interests, and that's why we spend so much time working on the PAC and fighting for our rights so that we can all stay in business. These are some of the issues.
And it's invest in RPAC, and you notice it's an investment. We're not saying donate to RPAC, we're not saying give to RPAC, love to. It's an investment. With an investment you get dividends. And that's what RPAC gives you back is dividends. Everyone benefits. So it's an investment in RPAC. You donate blood, you give to charities, but with RPAC you invest.
But at the Department of Development, currently what we're working on is just making sure that we're still working on the projects we were working on, but also transitioning into Jobs Ohio, where we can be more flexible and be able to actually maybe put capital into companies and invest in our companies here locally so we can help them grow and not just provide grant dollars or tax incentives, but really be more creative and flexible in how we're assisting our companies.
That'd be hopeful, but I think a lot of companies have found that they can operate with less people and be more efficient and bring money to the bottom line. Most important thing to look at is take a look at corporate profits. I think corporate profits have been great. They were good in 2010. They're going to be real good this quarter. So people are making money again. They're making money with less people, which is causing the unemployment.
One concept that we've all touched on in each one of our introductions is the concept of talent retention and attraction, and that's really going to be a significant part of economic development moving forward, given that we are at the forefront of a significant demographic shift in this country, with the baby boomer generation beginning to retire and continuing to do so, although the recession has delayed that a bit, but continuing to do so over the next 20 to 30 years. A lot of projects, as far as bringing new companies in and existing companies having the ability to expand, is going to depend on whether or not the correct workforce exists in a certain area.
Once again, I know times are tough. I know that it's not an easy time to be in the real estate business. All you got to do is look at a newspaper every day. It's depressing. I applaud every one of you for still being here, fighting the fight, and moving forward with all of the barriers that you have in front of you. And I want you to continue to do it. And the last thing you need is us getting in the way. So with that.
Interestingly enough, I guess I was already on the same ball field with him because I had a pocket full of ideas when I walked in the door, some of them from you. And I'm very thankful that you shared some of those ideas with me. And those certainly spurred other ideas since then. But what I want to say about the staff is that not only were their responses immediate, but they were anxious and they were excited to have an opportunity to be loosened from the confines of strict interpretation necessarily of a regulatory rule and have an opportunity.
Something comes up and that dominant personality, instead of working through the issues with the other agent, it becomes I'm going to be.
everybody today, yesterday and today, has been on Senate Bill 5, collective bargaining reform. You've probably read a lot about that in the recent months. We've had a lot of people visiting in recent months to observe the process, and I'm not talking about the school groups that come through. We always like to have visitors come to the State House, and it's much easier to handle in blocks of 200 or 300 than it is to handle them in blocks of 2,000 or 3,000. But it actually has been interesting to have more people engaged in the process than what we have seen up here in decades. But what that's going to mean is that, we are going to pass some sweeping collective bargaining reform this week. And this is important because it provides additional tools for local governments, whether they're school districts, city councils, township trustees, county commissioners, whatever local government entity you take an interest in. This legislation is going to give them the tools to help manage your taxpayer dollars. And let's not be mistaken, the money that we're talking about them spending is your money, it's our money. Sometimes people say, well,
1967. In 1983, legislation was passed which basically turned over the state budget to the unions through collective bargaining and also local budgets. We faced a situation as a result of the passage of that legislation which wasn't corrected until this year. And all that time,
the tax credit that was passed under a Democratic administration to help support the housing market, supported by some Republicans as well, helped sustain that housing market across the country through very difficult times. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Correct me. Imagine if that credit didn't exist. Would we have been better off as an industry? Would we? We can't pick and choose, friends. We just can't. The economy the president inherited, because he did, the collapse of the financial markets, for whatever reason, I will cede the argument for the reasons, in 2008. The collapse of the markets and the impact it had on the economy, whether it was the housing market or the general economy, was, in the words of George Bush, one of the greatest financial crises this country was facing since the Great Depression. It was President Bush who advocated and received the support of both Democrats and Republicans, primarily Democrats, in late 2008 to create the first so-called bailouts. You remember those days. Some of us choose to forget. It was then Republicans and Democrats in the early days of President Obama's administration, as well as your National Association, that supported creating opportunities in the housing market to sustain that housing market during those very difficult days. Now, we are all entitled to our own set of opinions, but we are not entitled to our own set of facts. If you were to run the numbers, and we have, far more teachers, firefighters, police officers, highway patrolmen, corrections officers purchase homes in this state than do CEOs. Those are the facts. They just simply are. More homes are sold in this state valued at less than $150,000 than more. Those are just the facts. Stripping away support for those very people that drive blue-collar economies like here in Ohio is precisely the wrong step to take.